The stars were quiet that night, yet something moved between them, like a breath held too long. Morpheus stood by the edge of the world, his eyes tracing the slow fall of a single star. It was not like the others. Its descent was graceful, almost deliberate, like it knew where to land. He felt the air shift, as if the universe had taken notice of him for the first time. Dreams had always found him easily. But tonight, it was different. The dream was awake. He could hear a hum beneath the silence, a rhythm pulsing between sky and soul. The star burned not with fire, but with memory. A whisper echoed, "Follow where the light sleeps." His heart trembled, not from fear, but from recognition. He had been waiting for this call. The wind carried a faint scent of rain and stardust. Time slowed, folding itself around the moment. Somewhere beyond the horizon, the night opened its eyes. And Morpheus stepped forward, not to chase the fallen star, but to answer it. For every journey begins where certainty ends. And as the world exhaled, the sky itself seemed to dream. That was the night the Starfall Journey began. Night draped the valley in silver shadow. The wind was still, but the stars whispered above. Morpheus sat alone on a ridge of stone, his telescope pointed toward the sleeping heavens. For years he had studied their patterns, silent lights charting invisible destinies. But tonight, one light broke its vow of stillness. It trembled, then began to move. A slow descent, soft as breath, yet it drew the entire sky with it. He blinked once, thinking it a trick of the eye. It wasn't. The star was truly falling, not with flame, not with fury. It glided, leaving a trail like liquid music. The earth below shimmered faintly, a pulse running through the soil in his bones. The telescope quivered. His heart did too. Something ancient had awakened in him. He removed his glasses, staring with bare eyes, as the light curved toward the horizon. It did not vanish. It lingered, hovering as though waiting for him to decide. He whispered to the night, "What are you?" But the night answered only with silence. The silence was thick, almost alive, as though listening to his every breath. Then, faintly, he heard it, the hum. A low vibration, deep and tender. It came not from the air, but from within his chest, echoing through his ribs. He placed his hand over his heart. The rhythm matched the pulse of the falling light. The world seemed to tilt, and the stars rearranged themselves around him. In that moment, he was both observer and observed, seen by something vast, unseen. A wave of warmth spread through him, and the horizon shimmered like water. The star touched down, not in fire, but in quiet radiance. The valley breathed again. He rose slowly, his legs unsteady, his mind torn between awe and disbelief. The hum grew louder, then softened, forming a melody that had no words, only feeling. Every note seemed to call his name, though no mouth spoke it. He walked toward the source, through the tall grass glowing faintly with reflected starlight. Each step carried him deeper into the rhythm, as if the night itself guided him. The air grew cool and dense, humming with hidden intention. He saw it then, the fallen star. But it was not a star, it was something else, a crystal, half buried in the earth, radiant but not blinding. Its surface shimmered like liquid glass, colors shifting between silver, blue, and memory. He reached out, hesitant, feeling the pull of the unknown draw him closer. When his fingers touched it, the world went still. Even the wind forgot to move. A surge of light flooded his mind, not painful, but overwhelming in beauty. Visions cascaded, galaxies spinning, oceans rising, voices whispering from beyond time. And through it all, one message remained, clear as breath on glass. Follow where the light sleeps. Morpheus fell to his knees, trembling, not from fear but revelation. He understood then. The star had not fallen. It had arrived. The night closed around him, warm, endless, alive. And somewhere deep within, his journey began. Dawn came quietly, but the memory of light still lingered in Morpheus's chest. The crystal lay before him, glowing faintly beneath a thin veil of morning mist. He could not look away. Its glow seemed to breathe, pulsing in rhythm with the earth. When he reached out again, it was warm, alive, almost aware of his touch. A soft hum echoed from it, low and resonant, like a heart remembering how to beat. He lifted it carefully, and for a moment his vision blurred into waves of light. Images flickered, oceans, skies, shapes without names, moving too quickly to grasp. Then, clarity returned. The crystal now floated slightly, responding to his thoughts. Where he looked, it tilted. When he breathed, it shimmered brighter. It was guiding him, not through distance, but through meaning. He whispered, "What are you?" And within the air, an answer trembled. "Follow where the light sleeps." The same voice as before, familiar yet unearthly. He turned in every direction, but there was no source, no being to be found, only the wind carrying whispers of something beyond sight. He realized then, this was no map of places, but of dreams. He held the crystal close to his ear, hearing faint melodies hidden within its glow. They sounded like forgotten lullabies, fragments of a language lost to time. The ground beneath him shimmered faintly, as though mirroring the crystal's pulse. He took a cautious step forward, and the world shifted. The forest around him blurred at the edges, colors bending like liquid glass. He blinked, and found himself standing in a vast field of silver grass. Above, the sky swirled with constellations he had never seen, each star pulsing in rhythm. He wasn't dreaming. Or perhaps he was, but not the kind of dream one could wake from. The crystal floated higher, spinning slowly, casting ripples of light across the ground. He followed as it drifted ahead, its movement deliberate, almost thoughtful. The air was cool, filled with the scent of rain and memory. Every sound seemed clearer, each step echoing like a note in a cosmic song. Morpheus felt his heartbeat align with the world's rhythm, calm yet electric. He sensed that he was walking between realities, where thought and matter intertwined. The crystal stopped above a shallow pool, perfectly still, reflecting the starlit sky. He knelt beside it, gazing into the reflection, and saw not his face, but endless galaxies. Each spark of light pulsed once, then faded, as though breathing in unison with him. He touched the surface of the water, and the reflection shifted into a map of light. Lines connected stars to shapes, and shapes to symbols that seemed almost familiar. The crystal pulsed once more, brighter than before, and the voice returned. Every dream is a path, every step a choice. He closed his eyes, letting the hum sink into his bones. The words carried both comfort and weight, as though truth and burden were one. When he opened his eyes, the map was gone, but the direction remained within. He looked toward the horizon, where twilight waited like a promise. The crystal dimmed softly, now resting silent in his palm. It was no longer a mystery. It was his compass, and somewhere, just beyond the edge of reason, the light slept. The wind carried him forward, and soon the field of silver grass dissolved into mist. When it cleared, Morpheus stood at the edge of a city unlike any he had seen. The towers shimmered like glass, yet their reflections bent and rippled as though alive. Each step he took echoed softly, but the echo did not fade. It multiplied. He turned, listening. His footsteps were returning to him, layered with distant whispers. The air hummed faintly with memory. The city was awake, though no one walked its streets. "Is anyone here?" he called, his voice carried across the vast silence. Moments later, the same words answered him, but softer, sadder. His own voice returned. He realized then, the city remembered every sound ever made within it. Each building was built from memory, and every whisper lingered, replaying in endless loops. He placed a hand against a nearby wall. It felt warm, pulsing gently under his fingers. Instantly, visions spilled from the surface, faces laughing, crying, loving, disappearing. Their stories overlapped, forming a river of voices that flowed around him. He felt their longing, their unfinished words, their desire to be heard again. The city was not haunted. It was remembering. The crystal in his hand pulsed faintly, responding to the rhythm of the echoes. He whispered, "What are you trying to tell me?" And the city answered, not in speech, but in music. A faint melody rose from the ground, harmonized by the wind and stone. It was a song built from countless lives, woven into the very air he breathed. He closed his eyes and listened, letting the music flow through him. For a moment, he felt every memory at once: birth, Joy, loss, discovery, silence. He saw a child tracing stars in dust, a woman painting the dawn, a man waiting by a door. Each fragment glimmered, then dissolved, leaving a faint warmth in his chest. Tears gathered at the corners of his eyes, though he didn't know why. The music faded, replaced by a single whisper, clear as thought. Remember us, not as ghosts, but as songs. He opened his eyes, and the city glowed brighter, every wall alive with quiet light. He understood now. These echoes were not trapped. They were dreaming still. Each sound, each word, was part of a greater harmony the universe refused to forget. He knelt, placing the crystal upon the ground. Its glow merged with the city's pulse. For a heartbeat, everything aligned. The echoes, the hum, his breathing, the starlight above. He felt as if the city itself exhaled, finally at peace. When he rose again, the glow began to fade, the reflections calming to stillness. The crystal floated back to his palm, lighter than before. The whispers quieted, turning to silence, but a kind, resting silence. Morpheus took one last look at the city, now serene beneath the silver sky. "Thank you," he murmured, and the faintest echo replied, "Go well." He smiled, stepping beyond its edge, carrying its song within him. Behind him, the city of echoes slept again, its dreams unbroken. The path beyond the city was quiet, stretching into a plain of soft white sand. Morpheus walked for what felt like hours, though the sky never changed above him. No sun, no moon. Only a pale light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. The crystal pulsed gently in his hand, leading him toward a faint shimmer on the horizon. As he approached, the shimmer grew into a structure, a tower made entirely of drifting light. It rose endlessly upward, its edges dissolving into the sky like smoke and glass. At its base stood a figure cloaked in silver mist, neither man nor woman, but both and neither. Their face shifted with every glance, like a reflection seen through rippling water. Morpheus stopped, uncertain, the crystal trembling faintly as if recognizing the presence. The figure spoke, their voice layered, echoing across dimensions. "You have come far, dreamer." He swallowed, his voice small in the vastness. "Who are you?" "I am the Keeper," the figure replied, "the guardian of forgotten names." Morpheus frowned. Names. The Keeper extended a hand, and suddenly the air was filled with whispering threads of light. Each one shimmered like a star, humming softly, vibrating with ancient emotion. "These are the names the world has forgotten," said the Keeper, every being erased by time. He watched in awe as the threads moved like constellations, patterns of memory and silence. The Keeper gestured toward them. "To travel between dreams, you must release who you were." Morpheus felt a chill run through him. "You mean my name?" The Keeper nodded. "It binds you to the waking world. To cross beyond, you must let it go." He hesitated, clutching the crystal tighter. The thought of losing his name felt like losing himself. "It is not loss," the Keeper said softly. "It is remembrance without form. Freedom." He looked up at the shimmering threads, countless souls glowing softly in eternal rest. Their light was not sorrowful. It was serene, like songs that no longer needed to be sung. He closed his eyes. "If I give it up, who will I be?" "A traveler of the unseen," the Keeper whispered, "a voice among stars." The words felt true, heavy with quiet grace. Slowly, he exhaled. "Morpheus," he said aloud. "That was my name." As he spoke it, the sound drifted upward, becoming light, joining the sea of forgotten stars. The moment it vanished, the crystal in his hand flared brilliantly, then settled into stillness. He felt no emptiness, only clarity, as though the noise of self had dissolved into space. The Keeper's form brightened. "Now you may walk freely between what is and what could be." He bowed slightly. "Thank you." "Do not thank me," said the Keeper. "Just remember to listen. Every dream carries a name." The tower shimmered once more, dissolving into countless drifting lights that faded into the horizon. He stood alone again, though the silence no longer felt empty. It felt infinite. The crystal glowed gently in his palm, lighter than breath, alive with quiet purpose. And as he turned away, He whispered to the unseen stars, "Let me dream what they've forgotten." He walked into a silence so deep it hummed. The air shimmered like liquid glass around him. Ahead, the land dropped away into a vast valley, filled not with water, but flowing light. It moved like a river, though its surface shimmered with shifting memories and echoes of time. Morpheus stepped closer, and the current slowed, as if aware of his presence. Each ripple held an image, a face, a voice, a moment long past yet vividly alive. He knelt by the edge, his reflection dissolving into fragments of his own forgotten days. A child laughing beneath a tree, a young man chasing constellations, a dream left unfinished. He reached out to touch the light, and the river responded with warmth, wrapping around his hand. Instantly, he was no longer standing. He was within the river, weightless, drifting through time. Moments brushed against him like wind, soft and endless. He saw his life unfold in all directions. Every joy, every mistake, every silence he'd ever known played out in shimmering clarity. He tried to speak, but his words became ripples, merging into the current of existence. The crystal floated beside him, glowing softly, guiding him through the shifting tides. Voices whispered all around, not in sorrow, but in recognition. "We are your echoes," they said. He realized these were not strangers. They were all versions of himself across forgotten dreams. The boy who feared nothing, the man who feared too much, the dreamer who never woke. They circled him gently, their faces illuminated by the same quiet understanding. One of them spoke, his tone calm and kind. "Time is not a line, brother. It is a circle of stories." The words resonated deep within him, vibrating through the river's luminous flow. He saw the pattern then, how every end was a beginning, how each mistake was a seed. The river pulsed brighter, and he felt his heart sink with its rhythm, steady and timeless. All the fragments of his being joined into one current, no longer scattered, but whole. He drifted through ages that did not belong to him, ancient cities, unborn worlds, endless skies. He watched as stars bloomed and faded like petals in a cosmic garden, and through it all, he felt no fear. Only a serene acceptance that everything was as it must be. The crystal's light dimmed slightly, signaling it was time to rise again. Gently, the river lifted him, placing him back on solid ground. The valley glowed faintly behind him, the current still flowing, eternal and undisturbed. He looked at his hands, feeling both older and new, as though time itself had breathed through him. The voice of the river lingered in his thoughts. "You cannot hold what was. You can only remember." He nodded softly, whispering to the light, "And remembering is enough." The wind stirred, carrying away the last echoes of his reflection. The river flowed on, endless and patient, its glow fading into the horizon. Morpheus turned toward the unknown, the crystal resting quietly in his palm. He now understood that time was not his enemy, but his teacher. And as he walked, the stars above him shimmered with the rhythm of the river below. The air changed as he walked. The scent of starlight replaced the dust of memory. Ahead, the horizon opened into a vast expanse, a garden suspended in space itself. Petals of light drifted through the air, glowing softly like lanterns in an eternal dusk. Each flower shimmered with constellations, its stem rooted in invisible soil. Morpheus stood in awe, his breath catching at the beauty surrounding him. The stars were blooming, alive, delicate, endlessly reborn in quiet rhythm. As he stepped closer, the garden responded. The petals turned toward him, pulsing gently. Their glow resonated with the crystal in his palm, as though recognizing kinship. Then he heard it, the faint sound of water flowing through air, soft as a lullaby. Following the sound, he came upon a figure kneeling beside a pool of liquid light. She tended to the glowing roots with hands of silver, her hair woven from moonlight. When she looked up, her eyes reflected galaxies. "Welcome," she said softly. "You've come far." "Who are you?" Morpheus asked, voice trembling with wonder. "I am Lyra," she replied, "gardener of the celestial garden, keeper of dying stars." He watched, as she touched a fading bloom, its light flickering weakly in her hand. With a whisper, she breathed upon it, and the star flared once more, reborn in radiance. Every ending, she said, is simply a seed waiting for courage to bloom again. He knelt beside her, watching the flowers sway with invisible currents of energy. Each one told a story, of birth, of fall, of rebirth through time and silence. Do they all return? He asked quietly. Lyra smiled. Not all. Some choose to rest, but even rest becomes light in another form. She dipped her fingers into the pool, sending ripples across the mirrored surface. Within the ripples, he saw reflections, stars collapsing, then flowering into new worlds. The sight filled him with an ache both sorrowful and peaceful. Lyra looked at him gently. You've seen much loss. You carry it like shadow. He nodded. I've walked through memory, through time. It follows me like breath. She placed a glowing petal in his hand, then let it bloom. Grief, too, can create light. The petal melted into his skin, leaving a faint warmth, a shimmer of gold in his veins. He felt something shift within, a release, a quiet surrender to the cycle of becoming. The garden around them swayed as if in applause, a chorus of stars humming softly. Lyra stood, her gaze serene. You seek the sleeping light, don't you? Yes, he answered. The voice told me to follow where it sleeps. Then listen, she said, closing her eyes. It does not sleep in darkness, but in renewal. The words echoed within him like music, remembered from another life. He looked around. The stars were no longer distant. They felt close, breathing with him. Lyra smiled once more, her form beginning to fade with the morning glow of galaxies. Go, dreamer. The light will lead you, but do not fear its silence. When she vanished, the garden slowly dimmed, folding into the starlit void. The crystal shimmered softly in his hand, carrying the warmth of her touch. And as he walked on, the last petals drifted around him, whispering, bloom again. The path from the celestial garden led into darkness, deeper than shadow, quieter than breath. No wind followed him, no stars shone above. Only the faint hum of the crystal remained. Each step echoed softly, but even that sound began to fade, swallowed by stillness. Morpheus felt as though the world had paused, waiting for something unspoken to begin. He looked around. There was no horizon, no color, only the vast emptiness of silence. And yet, the silence was not empty. It pulsed, alive, vibrating like a heart beneath the void. He closed his eyes, letting the quiet fill him, sensing the rhythm beneath the absence of sound. It was strange, both comforting and terrifying, the feeling of being heard by nothing. For the first time, he noticed how loud his own thoughts had become. They rushed through him like waves, doubts, regrets, questions left unanswered. Why me? He whispered, though even his voice sounded distant, almost unreal. The crystal glowed faintly in his hand, casting soft circles of light that revealed nothing. He felt the urge to speak again, but something within told him to listen instead. So he stood still, breathing slowly, letting the silence unfold around him. At first, there was only the echo of his pulse, steady and fragile. Then, faintly, a sound emerged, not from outside, but from within. It was a tone, pure and low, resonating through his bones like the first note of creation. The more he listened, the more the silence revealed its hidden symphony. There were patterns in the quiet, pauses that felt like words, stillness shaped like meaning. It was as though the universe was composing without instruments, without need of noise. He realized then that silence was not absence. It was understanding in its purest form. He sank to his knees, overwhelmed, tears glimmering like starlight on his cheeks. All his fears, all his questions melted into the hum of infinite calm. For a long while, he simply existed, neither dreaming nor awake, suspended between breaths. Then, from the silence, a voice arose, not spoken, but felt. You search for meaning in sound, yet truth lives in stillness. He recognized the tone. It was Lyra's, but distant, softer, woven into the void. Do not fear silence, it continued. It is where creation begins. He exhaled slowly, understanding dawning like dawn breaking within the dark. The crystal warmed in his palm, pulsing with the same rhythm as his heart. Together, they resonated in harmony, light and flesh sharing the same song. The silence deepened again, but now it was not heavy. It was vast, infinite, serene. He realized he was no longer separate from it. He was part of the stillness. Every breath he took rippled through the void like the gentle pluck of a string. The universe hummed in response, and for the first time, he felt it listening back. When he opened his eyes, faint lights shimmered in the distance, stars reborn from silence. He smiled softly, whispering, "The quiet is alive." The crystal flickered once, then went still, its glow merging with the newborn stars, and in that eternal hush, Morpheus walked onward, carrying the symphony within him. The silence faded slowly, replaced by the soft clang of metal against stone. Morpheus lifted his head. The air shimmered with heat, though no fire was visible. He followed the rhythmic sound, drawn by curiosity and the faint hum of creation itself. Soon, he saw it. A forge suspended in the void, burning with light instead of flame. Golden sparks drifted through the darkness, forming shapes, then dissolving like fragile stars. At the center stood a figure, tall and luminous, striking an invisible anvil with a hammer of light. Each strike sent ripples through space, birthing brief worlds that flickered into existence, then vanished. The figure turned as Morpheus approached, eyes glowing like molten dawn. "You've walked far, dreamer," the figure said. "Welcome to the Forge of Thoughts." "Who are you?" Morpheus asked, shielding his eyes from the radiant glow. "I am the Dreamsmith," the figure replied, voice calm, vast, resonant as the cosmos itself. "I shape the dreams of mortals into reality, and reality into dream." Morpheus watched as the Dreamsmith struck again. Another world bloomed, then folded into silence. "Why do they fade?" he asked softly. "Because no creation is meant to last forever," the Dreamsmith said. "Only the act of creation endures." The words struck him deeply, their truth echoing within the quiet chambers of his soul. "Every dream you live," the Dreamsmith continued, "sends ripples through the waking world." He gestured to the floating sparks. "These are thoughts, born from hearts that still remember how to wonder." Morpheus reached out, and a spark landed on his palm. Within it, he saw a memory not his own, a child painting the night sky, a woman planting hope in barren soil, a man forgiving himself. Each spark pulsed with a dream fulfilled, a fragment of light that shaped the unseen. "They're beautiful," he whispered. "Yes," said the Dreamsmith, "but fragile. Dreams must be tended, or they wither into silence." The figure handed him the hammer of light. It felt weightless, yet infinite. "Strike," said the Dreamsmith. "Create something that remembers who you are." Morpheus hesitated, unsure if he was worthy of the task. Then he lifted the hammer. As it met the invisible anvil, light exploded outward, soft, not blinding, pure as thought. From the radiance, a small sphere formed, glowing gently in his hands. Within it shimmered images of all he had seen: stars, rivers, silence, gardens, names. "It's not perfect," he said quietly. The Dreamsmith smiled. "Perfection is the cage of creation. Imperfection is where meaning lives." The sphere drifted upward, joining the endless swirl of luminous sparks. "Every dreamer leaves their mark," the Dreamsmith said. "Now, you've left yours." Morpheus bowed slightly, gratitude swelling in his chest. "What happens to them?" he asked, watching the sphere fade into the dark. "They find their way into sleeping minds," said the Dreamsmith, "and the world dreams again." The forge began to dim, the sound of the hammer fading into stillness. "Go now, dreamer," the figure said. "There is one last gate waiting." Morpheus turned to leave, the glow of the forge reflecting in his eyes. As he stepped away, he heard the faint echo of a hammer striking once more. The sound followed him like a heartbeat, a promise that dreams never truly end. The path ahead glowed faintly, woven from threads of silver light and quiet memory. Morpheus walked slowly, the echo of the forge still warm within his heart. He carried no weapon, no burden, only the lingering hum of creation and silence combined. Before long, the path widened into a plain of glass, clear as frozen water. Above him, the stars shimmered in constellations he didn't recognize, yet felt he should. Every step he took rippled across the surface, distorting the stars like shifting reflections. In the center stood a mirror, vast and tall, made of starlight and shadow entwined. It seemed alive, breathing softly, responding to the rhythm of his heartbeat. Morpheus approached cautiously, the air trembling with an unseen anticipation. He gazed into the mirror, and it gazed back, showing not his face, but countless versions of him. Each reflection was different, some younger, some older, some wearing expressions of peace or sorrow. He saw himself as a wanderer, a child, a teacher, a fool, and something more, something infinite. "What are you?" he whispered, his voice blending with the faint hum of the stars. The mirror shimmered, and a voice emerged, calm and deep as eternity itself. "I am what you've carried through every dream," it said, "your truth, unbroken and unbound." Images flashed within the mirror, moments of his journey stitched together by light, the garden of echoes, the forge of thoughts, the silence that had sung him awake. Each memory pulsed with meaning, yet none belonged to him alone. "They're fragments," he murmured, "pieces of something greater than me." "Yes," said the voice, "you are not the dreamer alone. You are the dream itself, dreaming forward." Morpheus felt the words ripple through him, like gravity bending the fabric of his soul. He reached toward the mirror, fingers trembling, unsure what he would touch. The surface yielded like water, cool and alive, drawing him gently inward. Inside the reflection, he saw not just himself, but everything connected through light, every dreamer who had ever looked up, hoping for stars to answer, every whisper of belief, every spark of imagination weaving through the dark. He realized then that the journey had never been about finding something lost. It had been about remembering the whole, that he was never separate from the infinite. The mirror brightened, radiating warmth, and his reflections began to merge into one. The many selves became a single form, steady, calm, radiant as dawn. "Do you understand now?" the voice asked, its tone both tender and vast. "Yes," Morpheus said softly. "The dream is not mine to own. It's mine to share." The mirror pulsed once, as if smiling, then dissolved into motes of light. The stars above shimmered in response, aligning into a new constellation, his own. He stood in silence, humbled, watching it rise slowly across the horizon of glass. A gentle wind swept through, carrying the whisper of countless dreaming souls. He smiled, feeling their presence, their wonder, their hope echoing inside him. And in that moment, Morpheus understood. The journey was nearing its final dawn. The mirror of stars faded behind him, leaving a trail of quiet luminescence in its wake. Morpheus stood alone on a bridge of light, stretching endlessly across the fabric of twilight. The air shimmered with peace, neither dream nor waking, but something beyond both. He felt lighter, as though the weight of every lifetime had drifted into the horizon. The crystal in his palm pulsed softly, its glow now steady and warm, like a heartbeat fulfilled. Ahead, a door waited, not made of matter, but woven from golden strands of memory. Each thread flickered with moments of laughter, sorrow, and the quiet music of being alive. He walked toward it, each step echoing with the sound of worlds breathing in unison. As he neared, the door responded, unraveling into a swirl of radiance and song. The melody was familiar. It was the same one that had haunted his dreams since the beginning. Only now did he understand. It was his own soul calling him home. The light wrapped around him gently, not consuming, but embracing. Voices whispered in the brilliance, countless yet unified in tone and grace. "You have journeyed through the dream," they said, "and you have remembered who you are." Morpheus closed his eyes, the words dissolving into the rhythm of his breath. He saw the faces of those he had met, the oracle, the dreamsmith, Lyra's soft echo in the void. Each had been a reflection, a fragment of the same truth unfolding in different forms. "I thought I was searching for meaning," he murmured, "but meaning was searching for me." The voices hummed in approval, resonating through the corridors of light and memory. "Dreamers awaken not by answers," they said, "but by understanding the question within." He smiled faintly, realizing that the end of his journey was not an end at all. It was a beginning, as all dreams are, a cycle of awakening and becoming. The light deepened, shifting from gold to pure white, endless and weightless. He felt his form dissolve into radiance, not disappearing, but expanding. Every star, every breath, every thought became part of him, and he part of them. The universe pulsed once, like a great heart finding its rhythm anew. Through the veil of brilliance, he heard the faint whisper of Lyra once more. "Morpheus," she said, "you are not just a dreamer. You are the dream that never ends." Her words lingered, merging with the light as it filled every corner of existence. He opened his eyes, and for a brief moment, saw the entire cosmos reflected within them. Countless worlds spun like jewels, every soul shining like a note in an eternal song. He understood then that awakening was not escape. It was connection. The realization filled him with calm so vast, it felt like eternity holding its breath. The bridge beneath his feet shimmered once, then faded into the radiant horizon. There was no more path, no more need for steps, only stillness, infinite and whole. And in that stillness, a single truth resonated, pure and timeless. The dream was alive, and so was he, within every star, every whisper, every dawn. Then, with a final breath of light, Morpheus became part of the song of creation, and the universe, in turn, dreamed once more.